Welcome back in Outkick. Hope all of you are having a fantastic start to your morning. It is not very far until WrestleMania will be upon us down in Tampa. We bring in now Bianca Belair, who my kids are big fans of, and we watch a lot of WWE, as I've talked about many times on this show, in this household. And Bianca, I want to start with this. You've got a pretty impressive career in track. Before we get into the wrestling aspects of your life now, what was track like for you? I think you hold the distinction of running at 3 different SEC schools. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I've been running track ever since I was about 5 years old. My mom had me on the track in these really cute outfits. They call me Mini FloJo. So I went on to run track my freshman year at the University of South Carolina. I got a full track scholarship to be a hurdler. And then I transferred to Texas A&M and had, some things didn't work out there just went through like some injuries and depression. And so I decided to go back home and kind of like get myself together. And so back home was Knoxville, Tennessee. So I went back and finished up at the University of Tennessee, which was really cool too, because my mom also graduated from the University of Tennessee. But I went on to become an All-SEC and All-American hurdler at the University of Tennessee. So I finished it off pretty strong, and I ran the 100-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles.
Do you wish you had gone to Tennessee right out of the gate? How did that happen that you ended up at South Carolina instead of in Knoxville?
No, actually, no. Like, I'm really happy that I didn't start off at the University of Tennessee. When in high school, I was one of the top 5 hurdlers in the nation being recruited. So I was being recruited from different SEC schools and a couple of Ivy League schools as well, and Big Ten, and just a lot of schools. And I really wanted to just get out of East Knoxville at that moment. I was born and raised there. I wanted to venture out and meet new people and experience new things. And I really actually wanted to go as far away as possible. I wanted to go to UCLA at one point, but my mom talked me into staying in a little bit closer. But I chose University of South Carolina because at the time they had a really, really good hurdle coach and track program. So I chose to go there instead of staying at home. I really wanted to venture out a little bit. So, and then I went to Texas A&M. And really got to just meet more people, experience new things, and kind of try to figure out who I was. And, coming back home was the best decision after I went to those 2 schools, to kind of come back to home and get grounded a little bit. But I'm really happy about the experiences that I got being away from home.
How does the charge feel when you're getting ready for a big race and you have to perform? And also when you're getting ready to perform at a major wrestling event like WrestleMania, what does the emotions feel like? Does it feel similar to you as you get ready to come down to the ring as what it would feel like as you got in your starting blocks?
For me, when it came to tracking, just getting into my starting blocks, it was more so you just focused on the finish line. You didn't think about anything else. With track, you put in the work, you train. And when you got to the starting line, you knew that when the gun went off, it was just muscle memory, and it was just all grit. And all you thought about was getting to the finish line. You didn't think about anything else, and you knew that whatever hard work you put in was going to come out in that moment. And whatever the outcome was the outcome of your hard work. With wrestling, being a WWE Superstar, it's a little bit different because you're not just thinking about competing, and that was the part that I had to learn when I came into WWE. It's not just about competing. It's not just about the physical part. It's a performing part, and that's the art of it. That's the part that made me fall in love with, and that's one of the most important parts, because being a WWE superstar, our goal is to put smiles on fans' faces and make the fans feel something and get them and interact with the fans. So it's more, getting ready for a match. It's nerves that have to do with, you want to compete well, but you also have to perform, and it's multitasking. And you're thinking about 30 different things at once, and you're thinking about the fans and the hard cam and performing, and making people feel something. So it's a little bit different than track. But, you know, I love it, and it's such an adrenaline rush, and it being able to also be able to put smiles on fans' faces and make fans feel something. It gives what you do more purpose.
We're talking to Bianca Belair. She is in WWE. I'm curious, when you were growing up, did you watch wrestling? Were you a fan?
Actually, my journey to WWE is very unique. I did not really watch wrestling growing up, and I wasn't. I never. When I was 10 years old, I wanted to be an Olympic gymnast like Dominique Dawes, or I wanted to run track like FloJo and Gail Devers. So I didn't really watch wrestling growing up. My brother did watch it, and, you know, when we fought over the remote and he won, I would watch it with him.
Yeah.
But I didn't really watch it growing up. I didn't.
And so I gather that you were into CrossFit, and obviously you're in incredible shape. And so they basically reached out to you. I think I saw Mark Henry reached out and said, hey, I've seen your profile. Are you interested in doing this?
Yeah, so I went on to run track in college, and afterwards I really missed the competitive atmosphere, so my brother introduced me to CrossFit. And I got really popular in CrossFit very quickly because I was very good within 6 months, but I also made my own outfits. So everyone else was out there just in regular workout clothes. I would come to my competitions in tutus and these big bows and sequence outfits that I would sew, and I would come out in like a jacket and take it off, and I would perform. I knew how to go out there and compete, but also perform. I knew how to get cameras to take pictures of me. I knew how to stand out. After I competed, I would grab the microphone and talk to the crowd. And so I was doing these things that was basically what a WWE superstar would do without knowing that I was doing them. And Mark Henry saw me on a sports blog or a video, and he said he saw me come out in this big old bow and this tutu, and I did a cartwheel before I went to the bar to do a power clean and press, and I was on the microphone talking. And so he contacted me and said, hey, have you ever thought of being a WWE wrestler? You have everything that it takes. You're doing everything that you need to do already. And ironically, I was just looking online to try to get a tryout, but I didn't really follow through with it. And I thought, this is just too good to be true, or the pieces are falling in place for me. And he told me, I can get you a tryout. I believe you have everything that it takes, but I can't get them to hire you. I can't get them to like you. You have to do that part. And it took me 2 tryouts. And after my second tryout, I got hired, and I started in WWE April of 2016.
So we're talking to Bianca Belair. She's in a big match at WrestleMania 37 in the Smackdown Women's Champion Sasha Banks going head-to-head in a title match. But you had a monster win on January 31st at the Royal Rumble. You were in the ring. We watched it at my house forever. I mean, a long, long time in the ring. And I can only imagine how complicated that is with that many. For people out there who are listening don't know the Royal Rumble concept, there are just tons of different wrestlers in the ring at the same time as opposed to a traditional wrestling match. How much difficulty is there in choreographing and figuring out how long that process will go? And how about the energy and intensity and training that you have to go nearly an hour long in the ring? I mean, that's pretty incredible. How sore were you the day after that match?
I don't remember being sore because I think I was just so I was still on a high from actually winning the Royal Rumble match. But I love the Royal Rumble match because it's 30 women across all 3 brands: NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and Legends. And being a part of the Royal Rumble match, you have to have endurance because the way to eliminate a girl is to throw her over the top rope. But while you're trying to throw someone over the top rope, someone is also behind you trying to throw you over the top rope. And so it takes, it's very unpredictable. It takes a lot of endurance, and I can rely on, I relied on my CrossFit and my track background for that endurance. But I came in as entry number 3 out of 30 entrances. Yeah. So I knew right off the top that if I was going to win, that I was entry number 3 out of 30, that I was going to be in a ring for close to an hour. So that was kind of a given for me. And so it's just really just being on your toes and being very aware of what's going on and being the last woman standing. But, being in the ring for an hour, it feels like an hour. But for me, time kind of reset the moment where it was the final 3. It was Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and I. And it took me back to the previous year when I was in NXT. And I was going after the Smackdown Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley. And Charlotte Flair came in and kind of bumped me out of the picture. And Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley went on to have a WrestleMania match last year. And so being in the ring and being the final 3 this year, it took me back to that moment. And time reset for me. And in that moment, I was thinking, you guys bumped me out last year and went to WrestleMania. This year, I'm bumping you 2 guys out, and I'm going to go have my WrestleMania moment this year.
So you're wrestling against Sasha Banks, and you're going to have at WrestleMania 37 crowds present. How much better is it to wrestle with crowds present? You guys have had to deal with COVID like a lot of other athletes have without having crowds present. WWE, the crowd is such an integral part of the overall vibe. How much challenge has it been without crowds, and how much better is it now that crowds are starting to return?
I mean, it's definitely been a challenge without the crowd. Thinking about WWE, they're always able to adapt, and we have the Thunderdome where we have our virtual fans, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing coming out and seeing our fans' faces physically. Our goal is to put a smile on their faces, and in return, they actually put a smile on our face. We're able to feed off the crowd. We're able to interact with the crowd, and it's been really tough. I debuted on Raw and SmackDown and won the Royal Rumble in front of no fans. So it's been very difficult, but we've been able to adapt and get through it. But that's why this year it's going to be so amazing. It's going to feel like a family reunion. I'm going to be facing Sasha Banks, who is a SmackDown Women's Champion, on the grandest stage of them all on April 10th. And April 11th, I will be on April 10th, but it'll be the first time that we're going to have fans in the year. It'll be 25,000 fans each night. But we're all doing our part to keep everyone safe. We're doing seating pods, social distancing. We're requiring masks and providing masks. That's why we've been doing a lot of PSAs, encouraging people to get vaccinated and do their part so that we can get back to our normal daily routine, which I think we're jump-starting with WrestleMania. So it's going to be an amazing, magical 2 nights to finally have our fans back. And even for the fans that won't be there physically, it's even exciting for the fans watching on TV, because it'll be the first time that WrestleMania will be live on Peacock, because WWE has now partnered with Peacock, and that's where it's the home of the WWE Network now. But it's just going to be a magical 2 nights, and my family, they come to all the big matches and all the big moments they haven't been able to in the past year. So it's going to be exciting for me personally to finally have my family back in the audience and be a part of the moment with me.
Last question for you, Bianca Belair. Do you still watch University of Tennessee football and/or basketball games? And if so, what ideas do you have to help get the program back to dominance?
I haven't been able to follow it as much ever since I've been into WWE, because I've just thrown myself into WWE, but I will always be Lady Vol for life. It's tough to see a little bit and hear about what's happening with the football and basketball. But all I can say is, being a volunteer, it's the spirit of being a volunteer. And knowing what's amazing is that the whole entire city of Knoxville is a college town, and they have the support of the city, and they have my support. So my heart is always going to be a Lady Vol for life.
Good stuff, as always, Bianca Belair, but we'll be watching on April 10th. Appreciate the time this morning. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
That's Bianca Belair with the WWE.